Welcome, welcome, welcome to our Freedom is on the Line town hall. I am your TAP board chair, Kara Turrentine. I'm so excited to be here with you tonight. I'm so glad that you're here with us. There's so many of you on the line and many more joining in. And I know that you are here because you know this is a great and safe space with like-minded people that are feeling what you are feeling. We just witnessed history. We saw a pro-abortion champion, Kamala Harris, run for president of the United States. We felt the excitement of the campaign. We saw the energy, and all of you poured your heart and soul into advancing the cause of reproductive justice right here in Tennessee. You fought alongside us in the trenches, and you stood with us when we saw a heartbreaking moment on election night. And so we welcome you here tonight in this safe space to feel everything you need to feel. We know that there's a full range of emotions. There's heartache, there's fear, there's despair, there's anger, there's all the ways to feel, and we are rocking and rolling through those feelings, but we're glad that you're here tonight, and we are here to share with you and to let you know that you are not alone, that we are here with you, that we stand in solidarity with you, and that we continue with you the work, this important work of investing in our communities, in developing our policies, in pushing and growing our movement to achieve the better future that we all deserve. And so we're excited about our lineup of folks tonight to share with you the silver linings that we are hopeful for, that we are excited about, and I look forward to our conversation tonight. I'm going to introduce now Kristal Knight, who will share with us some really great information. Kristal is our board chair at Planned Parenthood. Kristal, why don't you take it away?
Sure. Thank you so much, Kara. And thank you to everyone for being here tonight. As Kara stated, I would just want to reiterate what she just said. We're coming into the final town hall of this election season, but this is not the ending town hall that you'll ever hear from us again. And while we didn't get the results that we wanted this week, we are still grateful and we're still standing strong, which is one of our mottos of PPTNM, that we will continue this fight as much as we can and supporting great candidates and great causes that relate to our work up and down the state of Tennessee. I want to start off first by acknowledging the TAP endorsed candidates and our reproductive allies who were reelected to the Tennessee State Legislature, as well as welcoming some of our new repro champions like Shondell Brooks in House District 60, Gabby Salinas in House District 98. Both of these women are new voices and new fighters for our cause, and that is absolutely how we should view their leadership. I also think just in this moment where we saw the historic run of Kamala Harris, it is important that we are doing everything that we can to continue to uplift and support more women to run for office, especially in a moment like this. I also thinking about the courageous candidates that ran, like Allie Phillips in Montgomery County, in House District 75, Jesse Hussett in Shelby County, House District 97, Louis Mata in Rutherford County, which is House District 49, and Brian Goldberg in Knox County, House District 18. These are candidates who are really tilling the soil for other folks to run after them or for them to come back and run later. And so we're always grateful for people who are putting themselves out on the front lines to run for elected office and also championing our cause and our mission as they go out with their respective messages. So again, I just want to highlight all of the folks who run, everyone who was successful, and even if you weren't, know that what you're doing is helping to build the deep infrastructure and landscape for the state of Tennessee. I want to turn it over now to our PPTNM CEO and President, Ashley Coffield.
Thank you so much, Kristal. And I'll reiterate the wise counsel of Kristal and Kara. There aren't words sufficient to describe the disappointment, frustration, and pain we all feel right now. And it's even harder after having had so much hope for a strong and well qualified candidate in Kamala Harris and for our shared dream of a first Madam President. She ran a truly remarkable campaign. I want to reassure you that it's okay to take care of yourself and your community right now. It's okay to grieve or be angry or disillusioned. Our work, our movement did not end on Tuesday. And Francie will talk about action steps in just a minute, but right now, be kind to yourself. I am incredibly proud, and grateful for Tennessee advocates for Planned Parenthood's work this election cycle. I want to thank all of you who are volunteers. I want to thank our staff and our activists who work tirelessly to call voters, knock on doors, and have hard conversations with our neighbors about our values and which candidates would advocate for them. I want to thank our donors for funding these efforts, without which we never would have reached so many people. Every single investment we made was just that, an investment that has the potential to continue growing if we nurture it. And I want to thank our partners in the Progressive Coalition, the Equity Alliance, Turk, Memphis for All, Southern Alliance for Clean Energy, and others. We had the most effective statewide coordinated campaign we have ever run. Our collective investments here at home were the most significant Tennessee has ever seen, and it still wasn't enough. But I also want to tell you that it isn't a reflection of our destiny or the quality of the work that we did, only how broken our democracy is. This is not just a Tennessee issue, it's nationwide. This was a nationwide phenomenon, and we cannot beat ourselves up about the work that we did here at home. Our Progressive Tennessee Coalition held the line and did not lose a single seat in the state house, despite the record-breaking national turnout by our opposition. We laid it all on the line. There was nothing in what happened Tuesday night that made our work less important. The challenges we face don't magically go away. Our voices and our actions are more important than ever. With 1,000 volunteers and staff reaching out to voters for the last 32 weeks, we have built an unprecedented base of supporters, which we will build upon in the advocacy work ahead. Understand this again, I'll say it again, our efforts have not been wasted. This is long-term power building, and it's essential to fighting back, and we will. We have built the machine that we will need to resist what's ahead. We have the courage to do the work. Although all 4 of the state legislative seats we targeted in Tennessee lost yesterday, nationwide results showed us that voters across the country support policies that protect abortion access, even while they vote for candidates who do not. We have won their hearts. We just have to connect it to their minds. We now have to start a period of resistance. You will not vilify Black and brown people. You will not attack trans kids. You will not tell pregnant people what they will and will not do with their bodies. You will not deport people who need sanctuary. I want you to know that people can rally with their friends and community, but only Planned Parenthood, only we, this community we've built, can do this level of voter outreach and coalition building. We know that no solutions are coming from the federal level for the next 4 years. Okay. But we will do the work necessary to elect pro-reproductive rights champions here at home to the Tennessee General Assembly to regain our rights and give us the opportunity to enshrine our rights again in Tennessee's Constitution. And we must contribute to the same efforts in Mississippi. We have to accept that there is no magic bullet, and we need to do the work seat by seat, because every win matters. Every win makes a difference. Every new elected official who supports reproductive rights matters. We're fighting for our future, and we won't stop. And I'm going to turn it over to Francie, who's Executive Director of Tennessee Advocates for Planned Parenthood, to hear what she has to say. She was on the ground. She did the work. She was the visionary behind it. And Francie, I love you and I thank you. And I turn it over to you.
Turn my mic on. Hello, everybody. this election cycle, you know, we had, as Ashley mentioned, thank you, Ashley, so much, that we had over 1,000 volunteers this election cycle, and we had paid staff who were all engaged in our electoral efforts. We may have not have flipped seats that we hoped to flip, but we held on tight to the ground we needed to keep, and still saw growth and support for reproductive rights champions. And we overperformed in like what's called the Democratic Performance Index in all of our target districts. We've been doing weekly phone banks every Tap Tuesday for the last 32 weeks since April. That's a long time to be campaigning, and I thank you for that. We made over 180,000 dials. We knocked on over 35,000 doors and had conversations with over 15,000 Tennesseans. And during that time, we also gained over 5,200 new signups from our conversations with voters. Each of these connections is a connection that contributes to this movement. And I want to repeat, and this is significant, we did not lose a single seat in Tennessee State House. I mean, despite the record-breaking national voter turnout from our opposition. You can even see growth in a comparison of uncontested races in the general state elections between like 2020 and 2024. In 2020, 34 state house races were uncontested for anti-reproductive rights candidates. And in 2024, this number went down to only 20 races. We want to emphasize the courage and commitment to this movement that candidates running in these districts displayed. We understand that power building happens year-round, and this election served as a launching point for future advocacy efforts. There are still things that we can do and things that we can continue to do. We already know how powerful action councils and grassroots movements can be. Action councils are vital groups that use volunteer power to help fight for a world where bodily autonomy is completely accessible and available to all. They are typically made by a group of volunteers who work to advance our mission by addressing local issues and legislation, leading policy and advocacy initiatives, working with groups like Generation Action on college campuses, Raiz, Latinx groups, and the Black Organizing Program. We need to prepare for the legislative session, which begins on January 14th, so that's just around the corner. A new school voucher bill was already filed on November 6th, so they're ready. The opposition is ready. And we know that in the past, we have faced legislation harming the LGBTQ+ and immigrant communities, and we expect to see more of these, as well as attacks on reproductive health care in the upcoming legislative session. We know that there will be deliberate misinformation spread about emergency contraception and birth control pills. We need to protect contraception. And we also need to prepare for defunding efforts against Planned Parenthood. We will survive and thrive. Planned Parenthood has been through losses before with the 2014 ballot initiative and the 2016 election, which was devastating, and we will persevere again. And I just want to make sure that we have space today and in future for all of our folks to take time for ourselves, to grieve and to take care of each other. Make sure that we're intentionally reaching out to all of those in your circle and give them words of encouragement, because we need this now. And I just am so thankful to all of you for putting it on the line, because this was quite a fight. And it's, for me, honestly, while I'm disappointed in the outcome, I'm so proud of what we did. And I know that there was nothing more that we could have done that would have changed that result. We worked really hard, and all we need now is time. Do that same thing over a prolonged period of time, and we will. So I wanted to kind of show you in a final slide some call to action. And here are some things that you can do, and we can take questions at the end. But as I mentioned, the first thing we would love for you to do is take care of yourselves, drink water, eat healthy food, take walks in nature. For those of you who are in the Middle Tennessee area this weekend, we have a refuge for hope dealers, which is another word that we call our activists. And it's at the Wild Heart Meditation Center. And we'll have some movement, meditation, guided meditation, and a gathering and tea service. And this will be an opportunity for us to bring down our blood pressure and help reset our parasympathetic nervous systems, so we can truly relax. I know we've had lots of activists tell me that they've been without sleep for a while, so we want to help you. That's our first work that's in order. After this, we're going to stay on the phones. We're going to thank everyone who voted. We're going to reach out to all of our volunteers, make sure that they're okay. We're going to thank our donors one-on-one. We invite folks to start or join an existing action council. So you'll see that QR code. If you're interested, we have a page where you can go. We'll have staff support for you and consultative support and a toolkit that can help individuals start their own action councils no matter where you are. We can have multiple action councils within one area, and we can have them anywhere in the state. So we'll help you get together anywhere, any kind of group size of 3 to 30 people that, or 300 people that want to get together to be activists in your area, and we'll help support you in that effort. We will also in future be connecting with our legislators and prep for the legislative session. In these targeted areas that we work to flip, we're going to still work in them. And now's a chance for our incumbents to be held accountable. A lot of them, once we started campaigning against them, they changed their tune. They're like, oh, no, we're for exceptions. We're for exceptions. Oh no, oh, absolutely. We're for all these things. So now's the time to put that to a test and have our local voters and action councils talk with them and see what legislation we can pass this January. We're excited during the legislative session next year. Keep an eye out for our educational series targeting misinformation, including helping our voters understand how government works, how bills pass, how lobbying works, how to build organizationally. So we'll have a whole training series. And we also invite you to join our book club. We're asking folks to, I don't know if you could see this. Here's a book called Abortion, Our Bodies, Their Lives, and the Truths We Use to Win. It's by Jessica Valentes. So over the winter holidays, read it. It's a fast read. I read it in one weekend. Even during the busy election season, it's a very fast read. And abortion may not be your go-to read, but I'll tell you, it is actually a delightful read. Actually, it's very delightful may not be the right word, but it's a captivating read. And I think that
it's one of the best things I've ever read about abortion. Yeah.
So read that, and we'll start many different book clubs across the state, so you can get together with like-minded folks. So because it's a good guide for what we need to be doing in the future. So we want to invest in our education around policy with our base. So those are just a few things for you to consider. And yeah, we look forward to continuing to work with you on this. So I'll pause now and see if anybody has any questions, and I'll turn it, and then
What can we do to help pregnant folks who need life-saving care?
At PPTNM, at our affiliate, we're helping people who need abortion care. We're navigating them to care outside of Tennessee. We're also helping them with the cost. So I encourage anyone who needs care to call our contact center. You can also fill out a Google form on our website. It's, no one sees it except our patient navigator, and we will help you. We'll get gas cards, we'll pay for hotels, we'll pay for plane tickets. We'll help you cover the cost of the service once you get there. So please call us for help.
Is there a way to sign up for the book club?
We don't have a sign up yet, but the same way you heard about this, which might have been online or through our email, we'll promote it on those channels. So in the meantime, you can just go to your local independent bookseller and find Abortion by Jessica Valentes, and we'll be in touch with a schedule. And you can always email us also at advocacy@pptnm.org if you have any dates that you want to suggest if you want to form your own local book club.
Is there a possibility of our having a state referendum or proposition the way other states did this past election?
No, there's not, unfortunately, because only the Tennessee General Assembly can put something on the ballot. The voters can't directly put something on the ballot. So the Tennessee General Assembly is not going to put it on the ballot because they're the ones who banned it. So we have to work really hard to get to flip seats in the Tennessee General Assembly so that we can ultimately get something on the ballot and get our rights back here in Tennessee. It's the way our state constitution is written.
This isn't a question, but we have someone else raising up, new House members Shondell Brooks and Gabby Salinas. For those of you who don't know, Gabby has also served on our board in the past, so we're big Gabby fans too.
And she's on the national board. Yeah, you know, she's on the Planned Parenthood Federation of America board. And Kristal is on the National Action Board, the Planned Parenthood Action Fund board. So we've got Tennessee voices at the national level. Thanks, Kristen, for reminding us about Mississippi's limitations on democracy as well.
Can I sign up to offer rides for people who need to leave Tennessee?
What we have found is that nearly everybody wants to be with their own friends and family, to travel out of state, that they don't want to travel with strangers. And so it's not something that we have really organized around. So I'll leave it at that. I mean, there have been some cases where I've reached out to a volunteer and asked them to drive someone, and we've had a volunteer do it, and they've stepped up to do it. But most cases, people don't want to be with a stranger, but it's very, very sweet and kind of you to ask about that and to think about that. Thank you.
Are there any proactive bills we're introducing this year to advance reproductive justice?
I know that there's been an effort, and it will probably continue to bring up, I think at first it was called the North Star Bill, and then there's been some talk to call it the South Star Bill to kind of emphasize our important work here in the South, because we are a reproductive health care desert. But there's been an effort to create a comprehensive reproductive healthcare bill that would include not only abortion, but services for contraception and access to that, as well as IVF. You know, and I see that Abby has in the chat also, or Abby just reminded me that also there's a work to expand 12-month contraception access as well for everybody. Right now it's just TennCare. So there are some proactive things that I think that, given our work in so many areas, I think we'll get, I'm hopeful that we'll be heard by more folks, given that we have our base is continuing to grow. So I look forward to that.
What is the area of greatest need from us right now?
They win when we become deflated and don't feel motivated to not only vote, but take action in our community. So I think the most important thing is to, you know, like, you have to think about your concentric circles, is to take care of ourselves. If we are feeling overwhelmed and stressed, like I don't want to discount the fact that there are a lot of people who are grieving and disoriented right now because of the shock of the results of the election. So taking care of ourselves first and foremost. Then I think beyond that, reaching out to those that we love to make sure that they're okay. And then practically speaking, I think what we're needing folks to do is help us organize more supporter bases in community. And so if that's something that interests you, there is that link in the chat where you can learn more about how to build up action councils, because with that base of support, we'll go straight into the new year, training up folks so that we can be present at the legislature.
Why should women's health providers stay in Tennessee?
If you want to work in a place where people really need women's health care, this is the place to be. So you're making a huge impact. The limits on the care that can be provided here makes, especially physicians nervous, because then they lose the skills that they need to take care of people, because there's so many people they can't take care of. And so that's the challenge, to keep women, healthcare providers who take care of reproductive health issues here, because they can't do all the things that they used to be able to do. But there's so many things they can do, and they can make a huge impact here, really more than they can anywhere else. We need you. There's so many people here. I get really deflated when people talk about, well, I'm just going to move. And I think, well, there's so many people in Tennessee who can't move. That's not an option for them. And those of us with the privileges and the resources to stay and do the work, I feel a huge responsibility for that. Huge responsibility for that. And I can tell you, I'm not going anywhere. And I'm sticking with it. And I hope you will too.
Do physicians understand the abortion law exceptions? Does TAP reach out to physicians with education?
Because we do coalition building and work with physicians, and they're great spokespeople for our issues. But, most physicians have hospital, not all, but most have hospital privileges and work through hospitals, and they have wonderful lawyers who tell them all about this stuff. So they're not all out there on their own. They have general counsel's offices that are following all of this, and who help them, be compliant and follow the law. So it's really not our job to tell them how to do their work. But it is part of our job to help lift up their voices as advocates, and Francie can address that.
We've helped put many physicians in touch with each other. So we create like a OBGYN network so that they can communicate with each other when they have questions. And also we have held several different educational forums made up by physicians and also for physicians and community. So that's the role that we play. But I think, as Ashley mentioned, we would defer to legal counsel to advise them on what's permissible within their own facility.
What will happen in the legislative cycle? What do you anticipate being the next attack?
I think we would probably see attacks on contraception. That would be my anticipation, because it's never been about abortion. It's really been about control of our bodies. And so part of that is also our access to contraception and IVF as well. I think it's notable that there have been a couple years in a row where a contraception bill has been put forth to the legislature, and they will not pass any kind of security guaranteeing access to contraception. They also will not pass any kind of bill that differentiates birth control from an abortifacient. So I think that shows us kind of the direction that they're heading. And one of the things that's discussed actually in this book, I don't know if you can see it, in this book is that a contraception prohibition bill is not going to come out in full swing. It's going to be the way they treated abortion and the rollback of abortion. It's going to be death by 1,000 paper cuts. And so we anticipate that some of those bills might say, kind of like what Hobby Lobby did with just general health care. Like if you're a provider or if you're an employer, maybe you won't allow, because it's against your religious beliefs, your business will not work with health insurance that covers contraception, for example. So I think we're going to see, those are the kinds of attacks that may not be obvious, that may not, we might not see that right away, but I think that's going to be part of why we need to educate folks on the front end about what the difference is between contraception and why we need to protect it. I think that we're going to see continued attacks on the trans community. That's super clear. That was absolutely a wedge issue that they used in the campaign, from our local state level races all the way up to the, against Kamala. So I think that we'll see some more anti-trans bills. And, they're going to attack Planned Parenthood. They're going to want to punish us more than ever because we fought like hell to unseat folks that did not share our values, and we wanted to elect pro-healthcare champions in the state legislature. And so I would imagine, especially now with an emboldened base after the presidential election, I would expect that. So I imagine we'd probably be more on the defensive than proactive, but we'll work to do both, of course.
I would add to that, and this is Jessica Valentes' book. I know we keep talking about it, but it's just so good. One thing that she really talks about is how our opposition really starts with minors. And we've already seen that in Tennessee with the ban on transgender care for minors. And there was a bill this last legislative session that frames things as, and this is true with transgender care, everything gets framed as parental rights. They don't frame it as what it really is, which is a bodily autonomy issue. And there was a bill to end minors' ability to consent for their own birth control and STI testing, which is allowed in Tennessee as it is in most states. And the bill actually didn't have any teeth, but we could see the direction that they were headed. So imagine if 16 and 17-year-olds, for example, could no longer get birth control without their parents' involvement in it. That would be a disaster. And so there's that. I think that's coming too, and be on the lookout for things cloaked as parental rights.
Okay, so from Anne, thank you, Anne, for joining us. She says we're extremely fortunate to have you. Wants to know if we have a date yet for Day on the Hill.
Not yet. It will probably be in March. And Anne, thank you. I mean, we know that you've been so helpful on the phone, so we appreciate your work this year. But we don't have the actual date, but we'll know it before the end of this year for sure.
We've all heard of ProPublica's recent investigations into negative outcome events related to pregnancy and inability to obtain appropriate and/or timely care. Have there been any significant occurrences in Tennessee, and is there a plan to share any events with the public?
Yes, there have been dangerous situations for pregnant patients here in Tennessee. In fact, several of them, I can't remember the number, were part of the plaintiffs in a court case about the ban itself. Several women, like I think one of the first cases happened here in Nashville where somebody wasn't able to get care quickly, and it resulted in her losing her fallopian tube. So I think another person that's highly outspoken was Allie Phillips, who was a candidate in Montgomery County in House District 75, who ran because she had to go out of state after she had a complication in her pregnancy, unviable pregnancy, and had to go to New York to get care. So there's been several cases actually in Tennessee.
Well, the lawsuit, they were successful. There was a 3-judge panel that made the decision to add exceptions to the law that delineated, specific exceptions that were related to the plaintiff's complaint, specific to those conditions that had harmed these women. And Allie was one of them. And so it was a big loss for the state, actually. And the state's only argument in the case was that the law is clear and doctors and lawyers at hospitals are just too stupid not to be able to follow it. And on the other side were the women who really suffered serious injury as a result of doctors and lawyers at hospitals going, we can't treat because we don't even know what we can and can't do under this crazy ban. So there were more. It doesn't look like the state is going to appeal this decision, which is them admitting this law is terrible. And that happened like during all the chaos around the election, and it kind of got a little bit buried in the news. And that may be the question that somebody else was asking about, hey, are we going to try to educate doctors more about the law? Because it is, it happened just very recently. It's better news for women. It doesn't cover every possible complication that a woman could face. And it's really about pregnancy complications, but there are women who are sick and there's nothing wrong with the pregnancy, but there's something wrong with them. and they shouldn't be carrying the pregnancy. I mean, there's just so many, they can't be all delineated and spelled out. And that's why we have to give doctors the discretion to make these decisions with their patients.
From stories I've encountered surrounding abortion care, I've often heard the process can take longer than expected and is, of course, mired with fear of legal repercussions or high cost. Is advanced provision, meaning obtaining meds for future use, an option for women to prepare ahead or circumvent future restrictions? And I'm going to jump in and say that, I mean, yes, that is an option. But from guidance that I have seen in several places just this week, folks are being cautioned to understand that there are so many women who need that care right now, that providers are having, they have their own issues keeping up with the folks who are pregnant right now and seeking abortion, so that it's better for us to make sure that that medication is available for them now when they need it.
What you're saying is really good advice, is to save the bandwidth and, for people who really need it.
And Plan C has a website that has, information about that. And anybody who is seeking that and wants to be prepared, there are options for that if you check out their website.
And I'll just reiterate again, if you need help, please call us. We're going to make sure that you get the care that you need. The problem is that people are afraid to reach out. People don't know to reach out. But if you can be part of helping people feel secure about calling Planned Parenthood, we will help you.
I'm going to take this one final question, because asking if y'all would talk about Afon and Rachel's court case.
That is referring to Representative Afton Bain out of Nashville, and Rachel Welty sued the state over Tennessee's abortion, they call it abortion trafficking legislation. It was basically a law that got passed in the Tennessee legislature early this year that essentially made it hard to help people who needed to get help. I mean, it was kind of an anti-helper law, and Representative Bain and Rachel sued, saying that it was a violation of free speech. And in earlier, I guess maybe a couple months ago, a judge gave them temporary injunction, reinforcing the fact that it is indeed an infringement of free speech. And that's the latest I've heard. If there's any other
just Francie, everything you said was correct, but the trafficking, I hate using that word, but that it's a word that elicits an emotional response. Again, it has to do around this parental rights thing. It's dangerous, how they use this to upset parents. Basically, you can talk about abortion. They were saying that the law wasn't clear, that you could talk to a minor about abortion. That's what the injunction is on. You can talk to them about abortion. If you actually help them, you still need parental consent. So you can talk about it. That wasn't clear. Now it's clear. There's an injunction. Anybody can talk to a minor about it. But for the work that we do to help a minor go out of state, we have to get parental consent. That's still the law. And Amy, I would add just that we didn't challenge that because we didn't want to create bad law by challenging it. We did not find a path to challenge it. Our lawyers could not find a path to challenge it and feel secure that they wouldn't get a decision that enshrined it even further into, as into the law. So we had to leave it alone for now. It's something that is part of the web of terrible laws that are going to have to be unraveled over time.
Well, thank you so much, Ashley, Francie, Kristal, Amy. Thank you all for the wonderful questions. We are at a place now where we know the work continues. Despite the results that we saw from Tuesday, there's so many avenues by which we still have work to do in order to ensure that people can access reproductive care, abortion care without government interference, and to expand that access across Tennessee, and to continue the work as abortion care becomes more and more available across the country, and to hold the line at the federal level where we can, for Tennesseans who are counting on us, and for the families and their friends, and for folks that need help, that need guidance, that need support. We want you to know, and we want you to be reassured that in spite of and despite of what happened on Tuesday, Planned Parenthood is going to be here, and we are not going to stop fighting. The truth is that the majority of Americans believe that abortion should be legal. And we saw that on Tuesday night as well. We saw red states, Missouri, Arizona, pass and codify abortion care. And so we know that Tennessee is a place where folks believe this care should be available. We've got to help make it happen. And so we're going to be here, and we want you here. And we want to take a little advice from Vice President Harris as we think about how we go forward in this moment, how we think about rebuilding and restructuring and strengthening and continuing the work of our movement. And one of the things that she said when she addressed the crowd on Wednesday was that this is not a time to despair. It's not a time to throw up our hands, but instead it's a time to roll up our sleeves. And the fight for our freedom is hard work. It's hard work, but it is joyful work. And she went on to say that the light of America's promise will always burn bright as long as we never give up and as long as we keep fighting. And so it is up to us to keep fighting. It is up to us to keep the light going. And so folks are going to be discouraged around you. You're going to feel it. Take the time to refuel, take the time to rest, and then come back into the trenches and keep fighting. So thank you so much for all that you've done, for all that you've poured out, for all that you've given, for all that you've sacrificed to be in this historic moment. And now our charge is to hold the line. Our charge is to defend. Our charge is to be prepared for what's coming, whatever that looks like, and however hard it is. And so take the mandate to rest so that we can reset and keep going, so that we can be courageous together, so that we can be resilient together, so that we can resist together. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.